Hey everyone, this is Year of the Book. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about endings. Now, before you go on, just to let you know, there will be some spoilers in this video for the ending of several books. I'll list them on the screen. If you don't want to have those endings ruined for you, then you can skip this one. What I wanted to talk about is a specific type of ending, often but not always in a mystery novel or story. So I love an open ending in a story. What I mean by that is when there is a mystery in the story, it might be the main part of the story or just a side bit that remains unresolved, and it's up to you as the reader to decide what the answer might actually be, or if there was really an answer or an explanation for the mystery. Now, I absolutely adore endings like this. I live for them and I will die on this hill. But my partner hates them. He gets so mad about it. He was like, why would you write all that and then not tell us what happened? But I love it. I love how my imagination intuitively rushes in to fill those gaps, or is just left kind of like dumbfounded, like, but what was it? What really happened? And I think I like it as well because I'm very comfortable with, and I welcome the idea that we don't have complete knowledge and understanding of everything in the universe. I'm very comfortable with the unknown. I like the fact that there remain things that are unknown in this world that we don't know about, things about the natural world or whatever. There are things that we don't understand, and I think my welcoming of the unknown carries through into the type of books that I like to read as well. So I wanted to talk about 4 books today that I think do this really well. So the first one, and I've lost my physical copy of it, which is annoying. The first one is Picnic at Hanging Rock by Joan Lindsay. This was written in the 60s. It's set in Australia. There was a very beautiful movie adaptation of it made in 1973.
Except for those people down there, we might be the only living creatures in the whole world.
And they also remade it recently, which I didn't watch because I knew that I would be terribly disappointed because I adore the original movie. I've read the book many times, but I haven't read it for several years. So the basic story of Picnic at Hanging Rock. So Hanging Rock is a real place in Victoria. I have been there on a kind of pilgrimage to the book. So a group of schoolgirls from a boarding school in Victoria spend Valentine's Day at the Rock having a picnic, and some of them go missing. So this is the basic storyline, and ultimately we don't find out what has happened to them. We don't know. One of them is found alive, but barely, and she's not able to explain what's happened to her, and the other girls are never found. Now, I read something really interesting years ago that said that Joan Lindsay had originally written a final chapter in which she gave an explanation for why the girls had disappeared, and that her publishers said, no, you should cut this chapter, just leave it open. I found that really fascinating. Now, I loved this, and I thought about it and had many conversations about what I thought had happened to the girls over the years. It remains one of my favourite books and favourite movies of all time, and a huge part of why it's a favourite is because of that unresolved ending. Another couple of books here that actually have a similar, let's say, a similar languid aesthetic to Picnic at Hanging Rock, in that they're both set in the summer, and the heat of the summer is central to the feeling of the book. So the first one is, where are we? The Virgin Suicides by Jeffrey Eugenides. Now, I haven't read this actually since I was probably a teenager, but when I was a teenager, I read it over and over and over again. I have also seen the movie of it, but I can't really remember that. And again, it has this sort of languid aesthetic of the summer. So it's written from the perspective of a group of boys, or rather now them recalling their younger years, remembering a family that lived in the neighborhood with 5 daughters who over a period of time end up unaliving themselves, and the boys are kind of enthralled by this set of sisters, and it's written from their perspective. And again, it has the same sort of languid summer heat of Picnic at Hanging Rock, but using a very different perspective. And the unresolved ending is that we don't find out what has driven the girls to suicide, basically. It remains open. There's sort of speculation about various possibilities. Next up is Idle Grounds. This was only published a couple of years ago. It's by Christelle Bamford, and I think it's her debut novel. This has the same aesthetic as Picnic and the Virgin Suicides, but it's a different setting. It's set in New England. Again, it's written from the perspective of a group of children who are all kind of siblings and cousins. And again, it uses the plural first person, which I really like as a narrative device, actually. So in this book, everybody is at a family party, and evidently it's a family with kind of demons haunting it, with conflict just under the surface. And during this party, the kids are kind of unattended, and one of them goes missing. And this group of children, the collective narrators, decide to go into the woods to try and find her. And we never really find out what has happened. There is, in the final chapter, a little bit more of a hint as to what happens afterwards, but it kind of just deepens the mystery. It doesn't give us any clear answers. This book is beautifully written. I'm planning to reread it pretty soon, even though I only read it less than a year ago, because I just found it compelling. Some of the scenes paint such a surreal, weird image that it's just stayed in my head since I finished it. And the fact that you never really find out what's happening, but there's so much weird stuff in there, is just like, oh, I just loved it. Would absolutely recommend this. Lastly, I want to talk about this tiny little novella by Henry James called The Figure in the Carpet. So I've read a few Henry James stories before. I've read The Turn of the Screw and Portrait of a Lady. Is that Henry James? I can't remember. Anyway, another one. I'd never heard of this one. We picked it up somewhere. It just caught our eye. My partner read it first. He thought it was all right. I read it and I loved it. And I think I read it in one day. And again, the ending. Oh, so this is written from the perspective of, I think he's a literary critic, and he hears on the grapevine that a famous author has a sort of secret theme or thread running through all his work. And the narrator wants to find out what this is. What is the theme? What is the connection? What's the thing that ties them all together? And the famous author dies before he can find out, and the narrator becomes obsessed with finding out what this is. And he never finds out. Spoiler. It is such a weird little story. I just loved it because you really get a sense of his obsession with finding this out for various reasons, including his own personal reputation and glory. And, you know, it covers a period of many years as well. Various other people sort of die, there are different relationships and conflicts and so on, and he never finds that out, basically. I think that the title of the book refers to, you know, those kind of Turkish rugs with really intricate designs in, where it's difficult to work out what the actual image is. I think it refers to that. But anyway, this is a great little one, very quick read, although the style that it's written in is quite antiquated and dense if you're not used to reading these sort of classic pieces.